I do say when the U.S. sneezes, the world catches a cold, and the world is watching. As Americans head to the polls, Democratic Party candidate Joe Biden and President Donald Trump both want to sit behind that Resolute Desk. I'm joined by international relations expert Oscar van Heerden to discuss the possible outcomes. Very good to have you with us this morning, Oscar. In Germany, the Madame Tussauds, the Wax Museum, has already removed Donald Trump. Do you think he blew it in the last months, and is it because of his stance over coronavirus?
Well, Jane, I actually am of the opinion that I think that Biden and the Biden campaign, in a way, made a bit of a mistake to try and put the COVID pandemic front and center in this campaign. Yes, we all agree, of course, that President Trump his handling of the pandemic has led to enormous deaths and job losses and so on. But I do think that the supporters of the Trump campaign are becoming more and more resolute on the fact that, they are asking questions about other deaths within the United States, whether it is the common flu or whether it is violent death at gunpoint and knife point, etc. These are the kinds of arguments that we're hearing coming from some of the Trump supporters. And I do think that at some point, Trump has managed to blame the Chinese fair and squarely as far as his supporters are concerned with regards to this. So I'm not sure if it was a wise move to actually make this one of the core issues of the campaign.
Because interesting that, just in the last hour or so, top White House coronavirus advisor warns of a new deadly phase, and that's in direct contradiction to the president. But you say that that's not having any impact on his supporters. I mean, when it comes to China and the other sort of geopolitical issues at play at the moment, who really cares about the sort of impact their president is going to have in either of the camps?
Yeah, no, exactly. And the thing is that, they are already flouting all the regulations. They're not social distancing. A lot of the Trump supporters are not wearing masks. They're not sanitizing, etc. And it's all about wanting to say that we blame everyone else except our candidate, which is President Trump. Recently, you would recall, Jane, they are even now calling at a rally that Fauci himself must be fired. And Trump playing into that. So they just don't see any fault with their candidate.
Okay, where does a weakened America-US sit when it comes to any sort of leverage, when it comes to, for example, the Middle East process, which Donald Trump has really smashed, what little there was there when it comes to Palestine and Israel, considering that he really is known for his attack on democratic principles? That's a pretty bad message to send to the rest of the world.
No, absolutely. The thing is that Trump is very clever. We need not try to undermine the way he operates. As you know, Jane, one of the swing states and one of the ones that will really determine the outcome of this election is Florida. Large amounts of Jewish communities living in Florida. We know that Trump has been backing the conservative Netanyahu government in Israel to the hilt. Even so, moving the embassy of the United States in Israel to Jerusalem, in their mind, putting an end to this debate about West and East Jerusalem. And so I suspect that there will be huge support from those communities within Florida because of that stand in Israel. Secondly, also huge amounts of immigrants from Cuba in the Florida state that is anti-Cuba. And you would recall he reversed the cushy and cozy relationship that Barack Obama wanted to initiate with Cuba and went back to the old cold standoff with Cuba. So there again, those Cubans in Florida state will be supporting Trump. And similarly, with the situation in Pennsylvania, Biden towing a very left liberal view that fracking is dangerous, it's not environmentally friendly, and Trump coming out saying that he will protect the oil industry and fracking because it employs large numbers of people in Pennsylvania. So the populist politics is still very much at play as far as the Trump campaign is concerned.
I mean, Trump doesn't care about climate change. He doesn't believe in it. He doesn't care much about Africa either. Do you think it'll be different? Well, certainly climate change will be under Joe Biden, but Africa, the stance, the position here, we know that Biden was very outspoken when it came to the apartheid regime. Might we benefit from him?
Very, very outspoken, and indeed, in the main, Democrats have always been a bit sympathetic in terms of their politics. But I do want to say, Jane, that, I agree with the intellectual provocateur, Dr. Cornel West, which is that, he says, even if, everyone is giving us this impression that if we get rid of Trump, we'll go back to normality, the status quo, more stability within the world. But actually, the truth of the matter is that the center-left of the Democrats, as well as the center-right of the Republicans, are just a cut of the same cloth. We've seen it time and time again, even under the Barack Obama administration, the bombing in the Middle East, in Libya, in Syria, and the exporting of illegal immigrants back to Latin American countries under the Obama administration, and its stance towards China. So there's very different and slim differences between the two, because if really ideologically we wanted to see a push in the right direction in the United States, then a candidate like Bernie Sanders should really have been the nominee. But that's not to be. And so I think that it's much ado about nothing, whether Trump wins or whether it's going to be Biden. Because in the end, it's just the same kind of approach to global international affairs.
So maybe the world must untie their stomachs from those knots. Oscar van Heerden, very good to talk to you. Thanks for that.